Hey everybody, welcome to a Fab Fit Friday. I'm sorry I wasn't with you guys last week. I was at a stretch jeans fitting workshop with the ladies of the ASG in South Carolina. And I stayed with a lovely lady, Sandy. Um, and I had such a nice time. It was really a lot of fun. So I'm sorry I missed Fab Fit Friday last week, but um, I did was having fun doing class. Hi Diane, welcome. Um, okay, so today I don't know how many people are going to be interested in this. It's not a fitting project per se, but it is a fun accessory that I think would be perfect for the fall as well as the summer. Hi Francine, welcome. Today what I want to do, since we finished our sew along and I've had a really busy week with classes. Hi Sally, good, welcome. I thought I would take a break from doing multiple week projects and just do a one-off or a project we could just do in one day. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to show you what I have started, and I'm going to show you how to make it, and then after we're done with our little class here, I'm going to draw out the pieces in my Illustrator program, and I will upload it to J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider so you can have the free PDF pattern to make this floppy hat. So let me just start out by showing you the picture of it. I posted it in the group. If you didn't see it, I'm just going to show it here. You can see, isn't that kind of a cool hat? I ripped it out of Vogue and I actually taped it into my planner when I saw it. Hi Netwear, welcome. I'm showing the project we're going to be working on. And so I have it partially started, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to design the crown part of the hat after I show you what I've done to make the pattern so far and also to quilt the brim. Okay, oh hi Diane, welcome. Alright, so the first thing I did was I made a circle design, and I don't know if you guys know this, but you can make a circle any size you want using your clear grid ruler if you've got the one with the holes. So let me just show you my two clear grid rulers here. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. I'll make it a tad brighter here. This one has holes every ½ inch. So you can see there's a hole here, hole, hole, hole. This one does not have holes. Okay, so I just want to show you there's two different kinds of these clear grid rulers you can get. So to make a circle, all you have to do is decide what the radius, and for those of you who need the definition, radius is from the center halfway across the circle, so from the center to the middle. And then, like, let's say we wanted to just make, let me move this out of the way for a second so I can show you. So let's say we wanted to make a 4-inch diameter. You would put your little thing, your little stiletto or seam ripper or something in the hole at the 2 inches, and then you would simply just mark along the top as you spin your ruler. So this is how you can make your own circle any size, like with no fuss or muss. Like I literally can just make a circle, you know, whatever size I want. I'm just showing you quick so you can see. This is how I did the whole brim of the hat. So I tested it. Okay, so see, there's a circle, there's my middle, and it's 2 inches from here to here, so it's 4 inches across. So what I decided to do here is I started out with making this circle right here is going to be where we're going to attach the crown. And I measured around my head, which is 23 inches. So this is going to be about 23 inches. And the cool thing is, if you make yourself a circle, and then if you, you know, you can measure, you know, from the center of it, oops, like this, you know, first you can measure, okay, so now I know a 7-inch circle will give me approximately, no, I'm sorry, 22 inches is what I did it for. So once you have your circle, if you measure around a quarter, it will tell you. So each quarter is 5.5 inches. So that's how I got, yeah, to 22 inches, I'm sorry. So that's how I realized I could make a 22 inch. And then to get the bigger circle, all I did was measure 7 inches out along the edge here. Okay, and I made my outer edge of my brim. So that's how I made this pattern. And here's the cool thing. This little hole I cut out, this is actually going to be the top of the hat later. Okay, so I got 2 out of the 3 pieces we need just by making a circle. So when I make this pattern for you to have, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a quarter like this. So the PDF will include a quarter shape for both the brim and the top of the hat like this. Okay, so you'll get these 2 pieces, and I'm going to show you how we're going to design that, the wall or the crown of the hat in a little bit. So that's how I developed the pattern so far. Let me just check with Sally here. Sally said, my mom wore hats like this in the 70s. She called them floppy hats, bringing back memories. Well, okay, so honestly, I won't be wearing this hat. Let me just see here. So I just want to show you here. I'm going to look at my pictures. Hold on, I'm going to go back. Let me see. There's a woman, I may have showed you this picture. I see her hiking sometimes, and she's almost as old as my parents, and she's very, very sweet, and so she always wears a floppy hat. So actually, I'm making this hat for her because I thought that would be kind of fun. I just hope I can find the picture of her to show you. Hold on one second. Oh, here's me and my dad. My dad's wearing a brimmed hat. Oh, wait a minute, though. I want to find this lady. I'm sure I'm coming up to it. It's got to be sometime in the... Oh, here she is. Look how stinking cute she is. And see, she has a floppy hat on, right? So this is my friend Pauline that I see her hiking in the woods sometimes. So I'm actually going to make this hat for her. I don't know what inspired me to do that, but I will tell you, I saw it in Vogue Magazine, and I just thought it was the cutest thing. And if you look closely at the photo of the finished hat, all the edges are raw. So I don't know if I'm going to leave them raw or not. I may finish the brim with a binding later, and then it could be reversible. You could have the messy side, or you could turn it inside out and have the neat side. So that's what we're going to be making. Let me switch back over here. Make this a little bit bigger now. All right, so we have the pattern. So what I did was I wanted to make sort of an interesting, I don't know, an interesting collection of fabrics here. So what I did was, let me make it a little bit brighter so you can see. I actually just chunked together some fabrics until I got a 22-inch square. Because what I did was I measured the brim, the diameter of the middle hole, and then the other brim, and that equaled 22 inches. Oh, Netware says I look like my dad. You know what? It is frightening. I do look like my dad. I mean, not that that's frightening, but when I saw that picture of me and my dad, I'm like, oh my God, I smile just like my dad. But he is my superhero, so I don't mind looking like him. All right, so here is what I've done so far. You can see I've quilted circles on this, and it's already, you know, it's front and back. So see how there's circles quilted into the brim. And Oh, Netwear likes the colors. Yes, I figured this would be like fall and woodsy looking, because I anticipate my little friend Pauline wearing this when she hikes, when it's like a warmer summer sunny day in the fall. So what I did was I took this, I cut out the middle, and I traced the border, okay, and then I traced the hole. Okay, so that's what I did with this. And then basically I just started quilting along the outer rim here, and I just kept moving in a ½ inch. So that's how I got my my circular quilting done. And what I'm going to do now is the line that I traced in the middle, that's the edge of, like I said, what's going to be the top of the hat. So I'm going to cut that out right now, just so you can see. So I'm just going to cut it right on the line. And then you'll see my quilting isn't 100% perfect. I wasn't like stressing myself out to be, you know, exactly a ½ inch. You can be as crazy as you want in terms of accurate quilting. And you don't even have to quilt circles. You can quilt whatever shape you want, but you do want to quilt the layers together, because that will help make the brim a little bit more stable, I think, if you quilt all the pieces together. So this is going to be the top of the hat. I'm going to put that away for now, where I won't lose it. And you can see there. Then what I can do is I'm just going to cut around the edge here. Oh, you know what? Before I cut it, actually, let me bring back my sewing machine. I'm just going to do one row, like right near the line that I want to cut, and that way all the edges will be, you know, all the edges will be secure. Oh, Gary would like to know what I'm using. I am using cotton batting for the inside, so it's, you know, a little bit stable. Like cotton batting is a little bit stiffer than poly batting. I was going to use Basel fusible foam, but I decided I didn't want it to be that, stiff. So you can use, you know, cotton batting. You can use a you know, a lightweight fusible foam, you know, something to give your brim, you know, some stability. So I'm just going to stitch one more time around, and where I'm stitching right now is right near the line I'm going to cut, and that way all the edges will stay nicely together. Oops, let me just put my foot control down here. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to stitch once around, and you can see the pure abandonment I have for exact measurement here. So again, I'm just stitching on the line, and I'm going to cut just outside the line. Now I'm using my built-in walking foot, you know, my foot that has the built-in walking foot. Okay, so this is where I started cutting. So I'm just going to skip onto the edge just to hold it, all the layers together. And then I'm going to go find my start point here. Okay, I'm just going to do a tie off. All right, and while I have that, I'm going to just come over here, and I'm just going to stitch near the edge here as well, like I said, just to hold all the edges together. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to worry about tying this one off because this will be within the seam allowances. All right, so now I'm going to cut it off to get rid of these extra pieces here, and I'm just cutting just outside my stitching. And maybe I'll throw it in the wash and I'll fray the edges. I think that'll look kind of cool, distressed. And obviously that last row of stitching will prevent it from fraying anymore. Okay. All right, so this is going to be my brim. Oh, Andrew remembers these hats from the 70s too. I think they're making a comeback. If it's in Vogue Magazine, it's got to be popular somewhere. So here's my brim, and I'm just going to try it on. So you can see it's going to fit great. Oh, hi Dagmar from Germany. Welcome. We're making floppy hats today. Let me give you a bigger visual. Let me just switch my view here. All right, so you can see this is going to make a really cool floppy hat, and I'm kind of excited. So here's my brim, and I'm going to put that aside for now. What we're going to do now is we are going to design the crown. Let me make this a little bit darker here. I have a piece of paper here ready to go, and the first thing is I know the bottom of the hole finished is going to be 22 inches. So the edge of the rectangle that I sew to the base of the hat needs to be 22 inches. Let me just put my this back up again here. Let me just do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quilting ruler here, and I'm just going to draw a 23-inch line because I want to have a seam allowance, right? So let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. That's as big as we can get. Let me just, there we go. All right, so I'm going to just draw myself a rectangle that is going to be 21, 22. I'm going to make it 23 because I want to have seam allowance here. So I'm going to make it 23 inches. And for the height, let's say we'll make it maybe, let's make it 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 6 inches high, probably high enough. So I'm just going to use the width of my ruler here to draw my side edges. And actually, I'm going to, I'm going to go up an extra inch because I'll add the seam allowances there as well. So let me just going to put it right here like this, and that way I can just draw a 7-inch rectangle here. Okay. All right, so I've got my 7-inch rectangle. So I thought this would be kind of fun to show you guys. All right, this is going to be the bottom edge. This is the bottom edge here. This is the top. Now the top is not the same width. We want to make it a little bit narrower, and we know what that measurement is going to be because we have our, the top of our crown all set up here. So what did I do with my actual pattern piece? Here it is. Okay, so again, using that method of measuring a quarter here. So if I fold the the top of my crown in half like this. And I'm not going to add seam allowance to this. I'm just going to have it be that much. So the seam allowance is going to be approximately right here. So all I need to do is measure this line and multiply that by 4 to get the diameter of the top circle. So that's going to be 4 1/4. So that's 17 inches. So that means this is 23. So really 22 inches here. This is 22. This needs to be 17. So that would be 18, 19, 20, 22. We have to remove 5 inches along the top edge to get the top of the brim to fit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make, so 22 divided by 5, approximately almost 4 inches. Let's do every 4 inches. So I'll do 5 inches here, then I'll do 4 inches, 4 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do another one here. So I'm going to divide it by 6 actually. So 5 divided by, no, it's 5 inches. All right, well that doesn't matter. All right, I'm just going to make, now that I see what I have, I'm just going to make 5 slash lines here. So we'll do one there, we'll do one here, we'll do one here, 4, and 5. They're not exactly centered, but I made 5 guidelines. Yes, math on a Friday, oh my god. Alright, and then I'm gonna use a different color to make it fun. We'll use this peachy color. I'm gonna just make myself an inch, you know, little inch darts here. Oops. But you guys don't have to do this math yourself. I'm gonna actually scan this in and give you the pattern pieces. Unless you want to draft it from scratch yourself, you're welcome to. But if anybody wants to make this project, I'm going to put this in the J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group as a member perk. So if you're not a member of my Facebook group, you know, consider joining me there, because I like to give freebies away in my group. Alright, so I've got all my darts drawn here. So you know what we're going to do now. We are going to cut this off. I'm also going to cut right on the line here. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of my slash marks, and I'm just going to tape it to the other line like this, and this is going to make the top of our crown like this. Okay, and this is going to create that piece we need. So while there isn't any, you know, fancy fitting, I mean, we are fitting the pieces together, and we are fitting the brim, the hole in the brim to our head. Alright, so I'm just going to close all these, and this is going to give us our shape. I'm not going to go crazy with the tape because I'm going to trace myself a neat copy. Oh, I don't even know if I need to trace myself a neat copy. I added seam allowance already. We'll see. Let me just make a nice thing here. Okay, last one. Oops. Oops. Having trouble cutting on the line. Alright, so I'm gonna Alright, in unrelated news, if anybody is into watching college volleyball, but this is D3, not D1. My daughter plays for Eastern Connecticut State University volleyball, and I'm driving all the way to New Hampshire tomorrow to watch her play Plymouth State. I'm sorry, Keene State. And then they're playing a second game as well. And I'm anticipating it's during that game that my daughter will achieve her 1,000th kill, because she's an outside. So it's going to be kind of an exciting day, I think. I mean, there's chances that she won't get there. She only needs 16 more, though. And in a 2-game day, I think it's highly likely she'll make it. So that's a huge mile marker for college athletes. If you get to 1,000, you get your name on the little plaque. So she's very excited, and so am I. All right. I won't be wearing my floppy hat. I'll be wearing my Eastern Connecticut volleyball baseball hat that I embroidered with my machine when I go. All right. All right, so you can see now that we have the bottom edge of this is going to fit the bottom, and the top edge is going to fit the top. And just for ha-has, I'm just going to mark a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side here. Okay, let me just mark that. I'm going to mark this one over here. You know, then what I can do is I can take my pattern piece. Oh, Network says congrats. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to watch the game, you just have to go to Go Warriors for Eastern Connecticut State University Volleyball, and you can watch it. You can watch it with me. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I want to just check this to make sure this is going to match up. So I'm going to take my little stiletto here, and we're going to start right here. I'm going to make a dot, and I am just going to roll this right along the edge. So I just want to make sure it's going to fit, and I'm holding my stiletto about a 1/2 inch from the edge. Okay, so you can see this is how you would true up a circle to a straight edge. Remember to give yourself a starting point along the circle. That's why I marked that dot, so I would know where I started right here. Okay, and I can see we have a little discrepancy here. So this is where it stopped. I'm going to make a note of that. So I'm just going to trim a little off. Okay, so this is where it stopped here. I'm just going to make that mark. Okay, so it's not going to be this right here. Then let's just check. I want to check the inside edge too, just to make sure. I don't want to have any trouble when I go to sew it together. So I think what I'll do is I'll put this underneath, and we'll start right here, and I'm just going to roll it right along as well. Oh, except for rolling it around the bottom edge. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to make a little, that's where I'm starting. Okay, let's walk this around and see. Because again, we want to make sure everything matches up. So you can see I'm just rolling it along. the edge of the thing. And what I like to say is paper doesn't lie. So if you take your time and, you know, and roll it along and true it up, then the fabric pieces will match up if your paper matches up. And if you're ever working on something and it's not matching up in fabric, go back to your paper and check it. I had one of my students in my stretch jeans class this weekend couldn't get her side seams to match up, and it was off by like 1.5 inches. So I said, let's look at your pattern, and come to find out, when she cut out her front leg, because her front leg was just way too long, there was about 1 inch and a little bit left of paper along the top of the waist, but it was straight across. And you know, when you're cutting something out in class and you're trying to keep up, she didn't notice that that top edge wasn't the top of her pattern piece. It was extra paper. So always go back and check your pattern if something doesn't match up. All right, now this is interesting. On the bottom, this is about, I would say, 3/4 of an inch. This piece is 3/4 of an inch too short. So to fix it, here's what I'm going to do. I'll just make a note here. 3/4 of an inch. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take a strip of paper here, and I'm going to tape it on. See, aren't you glad we checked? Oh, Gary says, do you sew together before you add the circle? If so, the seams won't match. All right, so I'm not going to be trying to match any seams up on this, because the only place there's a seam is actually on this piece. What I'm measuring is, I am going to sew it into circle. I want to make sure after I sew it into a circle, the bottom of the circle fits this hole, and the top of the circle fits this hole. So that's why I was walking them like that. But what happened was, from here, the front, I mean the thing ended up over here, like about 3/4 of an inch away from this line. So I need to extend, and I think I'm going to do it half on each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3/8 of an inch over here, like this, and then the amount it's too much over here, I'm going to cut that in half. So I'm just going to add 1/4 over here, and I'm going to go like this. Okay, so I'm changing the angle of this, but I think that'll be okay. So it's going to be like this. This is going to be my finished answer, like this. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take off 1/4 at the top, and I'm going to add 3/8 at the bottom, just to make it match. So I don't want to just add it and take it away from one edge. I want to balance it out, and that'll make the seams be a similar angle, and I think they'll sew together better. So over here I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to add 3/8 of an inch, and over here I'm going to take off 1/4, and I'll line those up. All right, so we've trued up our let me just cut this off here. Trued it up. Now it fits. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do for this, instead of using a now this one, for the brim, I pieced together a bunch of fabrics. For this one, I think I'm just going to have it be solid so it's not crazy everywhere. So I am just going to cut out 2 of these pieces here. If you add paper to something, make sure, you know, tape it to the back too so you don't lose it. I am in the family of, you know, tape it like you mean it. I don't want any of my extra or any of my adjustments to fall off. Okay. All right, so we have our brim piece here. Or this isn't the brim, this is the crown. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut, oops. I am going to cut 2 of these, but to make quick work of it, I am going to see if I can, I think if I cut this off, I can then I'm gonna cut it into 2 like that, and I'm gonna layer them. I think, oh God, I hope they fit. How do I cut that? Like this. And then I'm also gonna get my batting so I can just cut everything all at once. Where's my batting? Hold on 1 second. Where's my batting? Here's my batting. Alright, so I'm just going to cut a strip of batting. I'm going to cut all 3 layers all at one time to save time. Alright, I bet it'll fit right here. Let's see. So if I've got my, get my iron over here. Okay. Alright, let me just give this a little press. I'm going to spray these with water. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to give this a press. Francine said, did you add seam allowance? Yes, I did. I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the edges of the crown, and I added seam allowance to the inside of the hole and the outside of the top. So everything has a seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. Then I'm going to put this right here. I think this is big enough, let me see. It's just slightly not big enough. So I will go over here. Just want to make sure I cut everything out all at once. Okay, so I've got that, I've got that. Make it big so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I'll put the second piece right here, like this. That's what I love about Batik. There's no right and wrong side, so I can get it to agree with what I need it to do. Alright, then I'm going to put this right like that. And I'm going to cut through all 3 layers at once. Okay. Okay. All right, so I've got my, yay, got that cut out. Let's put this over here. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I think this is going to be cute. Okay, I'm going to take my 505. And I'm just going to give it a little squirt. I'm going to put this back on. I mean, part of me, the other thing is you can, if you want to make your, if you want to make your 3 layers a rectangle and quilt it first and then cut it out, that will prevent the peril of anything shifting, but it's a little enough piece that I think it will be okay. And I gave myself extra 1/2 inch seam allowances, so if something is a little funky on the ends, I can trim it to match. You know, if things aren't lining up exactly, but I'm going to use a 505 spray because that holds it all down for me. Okay. I'm just going to line all that up. 505 spray. Like this. Move it out. I think if I make another one, I'm definitely going to make it a rectangle and then cut it out after, and that way I don't have to worry about being exact when I put it back together. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be fine. I mean, I have a little bit of funny business going on here, but I think the fabric probably stretched because it's on a curve. So let's just try this. Yes, Gary. Gary just said, shouldn't you quilt before you cut? Yes. The answer is yes, I should have. But we're going to go with it now that I cut it. Let's see what happens. So basically, just to make quick work of this, I think I'm just going to... I went around in circles on the brim, so I think for this I'll just do some... Is that sharp? I can't tell. Make sure that's sharp so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I think for this one, I'm just gonna... Actually, let me just make it big again. I am going to just do some quick vertical quilting here. So let's do like every 2 inches. I'm just going to draw myself a line. And it'll be 2 and a little bit. So 2 and a... I'm going to give it an extra little bit at the top. So it's almost like I'm doing a... so they're kind of radiating. Let me put one over here. Making it a little bit bigger at the top. And I'll just do one right here. Okay, so I spaced it out a little bit bigger here and a little bit smaller there. Can you see? So I'm just going to quilt that really quick. And then we'll sew it together. And I'm using Metler Poly Sheen for this. I'm just going to quickly quilt these. And of course, you can be as fancy as you want. Or as simple as you want. I'm not gonna back tack, I decided, because it's gonna be in the seam allowances. You could also decorative stitch. Like if you wanted to do some decorative stitching, you could totally do that as well. Okay. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to trim these even, and I'm going to sew them into a circle. Oh, Carol wants to know if 505 leaves my board sticky. I have no sticky here, but I was really only squirting inside. Like I was aiming like inside. I didn't try to get near the edges. You can see they're not really stuck together on the edges. I just wanted to nail it down in the middle for this. But if I'm doing a lot of spraying, I will put a piece of newspaper down. I'm just going to even this up a little bit. This side. I think this got a little distorted. We're going to go with Gary's suggestion, and we're definitely going to quilt it before you cut it. All right, so I'm going to sew this together into a circle now. Yes, these are the Clover Choco Liner. I have a blue one and a yellow one now. I love these. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this, all these layers together. And then I think what I'm going to do, all right, so let's see, do we think, let's try this on. All right, so I'm going to try this on my head. All right, so I think that's way too high. Okay, because look at, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to cut off, probably a good, I'm going to cut off 2 inches. And then, so this is sort of a fit, has some fitting to go. I guesstimated what I thought I would need here, but it's way too high. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut it off a good 1.5 inches, I think. So again, I'm just going to measure 1.5 inches. I'm definitely making this up as I go. You can definitely see that I'm doing that, but all right, so I chalked myself a line. I'm going to cut this. And then, oops, making sure the bottom edge matches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably have to, now my hole is going to be too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to sew it in deeper to get it to fit. And I'm just going to basically see here. Actually, I don't know if it changed it enough. That just cutting that little bit off, I don't think changed it enough so that it's actually going to matter, because that looks like that fits pretty nicely. So I'm just going to do a little bit. So I'm going to come up here and I am going to just take in that top edge. Let's take it in a total of 1/2 inch. So I'm going to just go in 1/4. There we go. Okay. So now that I've done that, I think what I'm going to do is, can I find my seam ripper? I just want to take out these stitches that from where from where I took it in. I just want to take this out because I'm going to press my seam allowances open and I'm going to zigzag that flat. Because I'm all for a little chic and shabby kind of, you know, like a chic and shabby kind of messy look, but I think this almost makes it a little bit too messy, so I'm just going to trim this so it's an even, maybe 3/8 here. Okay. And then I'm going to come over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to switch my stitch to the triple zigzag, which is mode stitch number 6, and I'm going to make it really wide. And basically what I want to do here is I just want to stitch all these things open. I'm going to press this open like this. So basically I am just going to triple zigzag all of this flat. Yes, I am pressing the seams open, and I'm going to zigzag them flat. You know, and I think I'll put this seam on the inside of the crown. So let's just get that back. Okay, so now you can see, let's make this a little bit brighter so you can see. Okay, so what I did was I zigzagged it, and then on the inside it looks like this. And I can probably neaten it up a little bit now that it's sewn. I'll just trim these so they're neat. This. I just want you to know I am having a blast working on this hat with you guys. I needed this kind of fun project, I think. I sort of blew up my schedule. I had so many new classes over the summer and going into the fall. I had the rub off ready to alter your ready to wear. I'm teaching for Stitches at Home this month, the rub-off class, and if anybody missed the rub-off class, I'm teaching it again for Master of the Art of Sewing on Wednesday nights starting the 13th of October, and I'm also teaching my Happy Pants class starting Sunday. If anybody was thinking about doing Happy Pants, this is going to be a really small class. I think there's 4 or 5 people in there right now, and I think they cap it off at a small number as well, so even if everybody wanted to jump in on it, not everybody would be able to get in because it's a nice small class, and there's 2 weeks between the first and second class where we'll have time to meet privately one-on-one to really get your muslins going. So if anybody's interested in doing the pants fitting class, that starts at Sunday at 11 o'clock, and it's also the most economical class I've ever taught for the student because it's $120 and it includes the $40 pattern, PDF pattern, and workbook. So so there's that. But I did so many new things that doing something fun like this is just, I don't know, I'm having a ball. All right, so let's, okay, so here's my the top of my brim. Let's see, Diane says, this will be so much fun. I can't wait to get back to Michigan and pick up some fabrics to try this. I'm behind everybody. Give me 3 weeks. Oh, you're not behind. All right, so I'm going to show you my circular quilting technique here. I'm going to quilt the top into a circle too, but just to show you, without the need to really draw any lines, I'm just going to use the side of my presser foot here. Move myself out of the way. I'll put myself over there. So basically I'm just going to sew around in a circle. Oops, I still have the zigzag. Probably we should go back to regular. I'm going to put my stitch length at like 3.5 for quilting. And I'm just going to stitch around in a circle. So this is what I did for the entire brim. Okay, so when I get to the beginning, I'm just going to do a really quick back tack, and then I'm going to cut my thread, and then I'm just going to slide over and start someplace else. Now I'm using my first line of stitching as my guide. And again, I'm just going to back tack. And then I'm going forward. I'm moving my start position so I don't have a row of back tacks all in the same area. Netwear says, I enjoy watching you go through the process in real time. Well, I really appreciate you guys watching. I really look forward to my Fab Fit Fridays with you guys. So this thread is dark blue, but it kind of looks black. So, you know, you can pick and choose the color, you know, whatever matches your fabric. All right, we'll do a couple more. I think this will be my last one. It's starting to get really tight. And it's starting to look a little messy up there, I think. So I'm just going to stop while I'm ahead. So it's quilted. Alright. Alright, so now I've got my circular quilting. So what I'm gonna do is let's work with the brim first. So I'm just gonna start pinning it, and I think what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna use some Wonder Clips here. I'm gonna pin across like this. Oh, can you see? Okay, so I'm gonna pin across. Then I'll pin across again. And I can see this is going to fit pretty well. So I don't know if you noticed, but the original hat, let me just bring that over here for a second and show you again up close. The original hat has raw edges there, raw edges at the base, and the edge is raw. And look at, the hat costs $1,150. And if you have any fun brooches, you can pin it up. So there's a styling tip for you. But all raw edges for Libertine's already striking, oh, it's hand quilted floppy hat. Well, you can make, we're making a J Stern Designs version. But you can see this is matching up perfectly. And just for added easiness, I'm just going to add a few more clips. But if you didn't want the raw edges to show, you could flip this and have this be, you know, the inside. But I think I'm just going to leave it out. I'm going to throw it in the wash and let it fray. Alright, so see how cool? We've got that all nice and sewn together. So now I'm gonna put my presser foot on. Now I don't want to do the whole 1/2 inch here, so I'm going to move my needle closer. So I'll just scoop my needle over this way. And I'm just going to stitch this around. As I go, I'm just going to make sure that the crown portion is laying flat, like this. Remember your flags.
Oh, I'm not doing that today.
Okay.
But yes, they're running the car.
My older daughter's leaving to go to a volleyball game, and she's yesterday she was in a panic. She got almost down to the game and she was doing lines and she forgot her flags. So she's going to put those in the car so she has them the next time. Alright, so I'm just going to stitch around here. Oops. Oh, my thread, I'm going to stop. I'm going to switch. I have decorative thread in here. I'm going to just switch it for an all-purpose thread because it's fraying, and I think, what did I do? Oh, I have black. I'm just going to use this black so it doesn't do that. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so let me just, I don't want the hat to fall apart, especially if I'm giving it to my friend Pauline. All right, so, all right, so let me just back up a little bit. All right, so we're sewing. All right, so I will give you the final trued up version of the pattern. It'll take me a little bit to draw it and PDF it, but I will upload it to, you know, our Facebook group. All right, I'm getting there. All right, we're almost done with this part. Okay, we have about 3 inches to go. Okay. All right, so it didn't sew any of that. That's perfect. What is happening with my machine? It's still, let me see. Oh, let me put a regular bobbin in too. I do have a regular bobbin here with some black. Regular black thread. Here, let me try this. Alright, so I got the bobbin, I've got this, so I just sewed all around and nothing sewed. Alright, this is real life technical difficulties. I hope this isn't boring for you guys, I'm sorry. Let me just thread my needle here, and let me stick it in there. Alright, hopefully now we can sew this. Alright, so I'm just going to put in a couple pins, but it was fitting so nicely I really don't need to kill myself pinning it. Alright, let me start back over here and see if I can actually sew it together this time. Sorry. Alright, let's go. Okay, I think it's working now. Something is happening with my machine. Alright, so this is troubleshooting 101. I have this thing going on where my thread is doing this. See what it's doing? So that means, let's look at the, okay, I'm just checking to see if I have a burr or anything in there, and I don't. So I'm going to change my needle. I'm going to put in a, I don't need a fancy needle for this, probably just a universal, one of my organ needles. I'm just going to stick that in there. New needle, see if that fixes the problem. Probably because I was quilting like a bat. So Netwear has similar experience. Ugh. I love it when I sew all the way around, only to find out I didn't sew a single stitch. All right, so I've got a new, oops, I'm just looking here. I just cleaned out under my bobbin thing, and that's fine. Let me put the plate back on. Okay, let me put this back down. All right, let me just thread this one more time. Hopefully, we will resolve the issue by changing the needle. I could have traumatized the needle because I was using a size 11 Microtex needle because I was doing some hemming, and I think I might have traumatized it between the quilting like 100 miles an hour. All right, so let's see if this fixes our issue. Got my bobbin in there. Okay. All right, for the third time has to be the lucky charm, I'm guessing. Hopefully. All right, let's try it one more time. All right, let's line this up. I think we're good now. I don't see any fraying. The needle must have had a burr in it or something. All right. Is that your meal or my meal?
My mail.
Okay. Goodbye. My daughter came in here with a look on her face. All right. Okay, so see, we're making it around this time and it's actually sewing. Okay. All right. All right, so we are almost, I'm going to take out this part where I started because it's a little bit not matching up. Just going to snip that. All right, let me just match that up a little better. All right. All right, so I'm just going to overlap my start point. Okay, whoops. All right, that was painful. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, so we have this part sewn. Now what I'm going to do is, you can see all my threads from starting and stopping 13 times here. I'm going to throw this in the wash and then I'm going to trim it so it's lovely looking. So right now it looks like this, but I think once it's washed I can trim it and you know, make it look a little bit nicer than that, but that's how this looks right now. The next thing is we're going to take our, we're going to now sew the head part onto here, but before we do, I think it'd be fun just to try it on. So let me just see. Yeah, see, that's a much better fit, and I can tell you this fits me pretty snug, but I have a pretty big head and the woman I'm making it for is more petite than me, so I'm anticipating this will be looser and floppier on her, or a little bit less fitted. So again, my head measured 23 inches and I made this 22, so I didn't make it, I didn't want it like loose and sliding around, but I do think this will fit her really nicely, you know, once it's sewn. Plus, remember, when we sew it onto the brim, it's going to be, we're going to use a seam allowance that's going to make it bigger, because once the seam allowance is sewn, it'll you know, the hole will be bigger. So I think we want to keep all the edges facing in the same direction. So I want this edge to be like this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn it like this, so the finished part's in there, and then I'm going to do it like this, so when I pull it out, both edges are raw on the same side. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the top part. I'm going to go across, and I'm going to, you know, pin it across like this, and then I'll pin it, you know, across going the other way too. So let's just get some, throw some pins in there. I'm really weirdly excited to throw this in the wash. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna, you know, just pin it as much as I think I need to make sure I can get the edges to lay nice. But you can see that fits really nicely. Maybe a little bit smaller so you can see what I'm doing. Now remember, if having raw edges is not a thing for you, then just put all these on the inside and you'll have a neat finish. I'll show you how it will look, you know, from the other side if we put all the raw edges inside. So again, I'm just clipping it enough so that I don't have to fight with the edges as I go. And I want to make sure it's evenly distributed in there. If you mark the quarters on the pieces, because I originally had the quarters marked, then you could match the quarters up to the brim and the crown if you have those marked. But you can see that matches pretty nicely. Oh, Gary wants to know if I could sew an elastic to make it one size fits all. I'm sure there's probably a way I could. But the other thing is, maybe what I'll do is I'll make, when I make the pattern, maybe I'll figure out how to make it into at least maybe a size, you know, large, medium, and then a medium small size. So, you know, it'll fit, you know, more heads. But like I said, I was aiming to make this snugger on me because I was examining, I was eyeballing Pauline's head this morning when I saw her hiking. I didn't ask her what her head measured because I didn't want to be weird, but but I definitely was trying to figure it out when I was watching her when we were hiking. All right, so see, we've got the crowns in there, and I'm going to put it like this. You always want to sew inside the circle. So I'm going to use the side of my presser foot as a guide, and as I go around, I'm just going to make sure that nothing is getting folded up and pinched as I sew. And hopefully now my new needle has solved my issue I was having the first time here, and we can just make quick work of sewing this. Move my needle over a little bit. All right. Okay, so again, I'm just sort of straightening out little bits of it at a time. Oops, let me get it close so you can see what I'm doing here. It is a little awkward, but it's easier than I thought it was going to be. And again, I'm just worrying about what's happening between each pin. I'm not worrying about anything else. Let me just show you the bigger view here for a little bit so you can see all of my hats over here. You know, and as I go, I'm making sure nothing's getting caught. Okay, I'm almost around. That was quick and painless. All right, let's see. Okay, this is exciting. All right, let's look at this. How cute that is. I could make one for like a witch's costume. Oh yes, Diane. That was perfect for Wonder Clips. Definitely. All right, let's see. All right, so here's another thing you can think about. If this brim is too floppy, all you have to do is trim it around the edge. This is pretty floppy. I think the brim is a little bit too wide, but good news, you know, depending on what you're gonna wear it for, all you have to do is trim the brim around after you wash it and make it, you know, the size you want. But I'm really excited. So I hope you guys, you know, want to make these. Let me just show you. If I flip it the other way, look how nice and neat it looks. For those of you who do not want raw edges, see? You can flip it and have the raw edges be on the inside, and then it looks nice and finished. But you'd have this. You have to decide about that. But you could wear it that way as well. See? So yay! I'm excited about this. Very excited. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the floppy hat tutorial. After I get it out of the wash, I will show some close-up pictures of how it frayed, because I have the batik and I have the cotton batting in there, and I think, you know, I think it'll be cooler looking after I throw it in the washer and dryer. So I'm super excited about this project, and next week we're going to start something new. I have no idea what it's going to be yet, but we are going to start something fun next week. If anybody has any fun ideas and you want to, you know, comment on those, I can add them to the list. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this fun little floppy hat. I mean, you could pin it up. Pirate. Cowboy. All right, so that's my report for today. If you have any questions or comments about how to make this hat, please, you know, post them below and I will help you. Also, as soon as I get off, I'm going to work on PDFing this pattern and getting it into the J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group. If you'd like to join me there, if you're not a member yet, there's a link to the group in the description below. And if anybody's taking any of my upcoming classes, I will see you in those. And also, I think I do want to just thank everybody. I feel honored and blessed that people are, you know, taking my classes, and I'm making all these cool new friends and, you know, keeping in touch with existing friends. It's really very cool. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this fun little one-off project for Fab Fit Friday. On Sunday, I'm hoping to have time to shoot a Embroidery Sunday video. It's taken me about a week to catch up from all of my deadlines and being gone in South Carolina for a few days to, you know, teach that live class. So I am getting pretty close. Oh, Francine. Francine says it was funny to watch. I wish I could have your patience. Good idea for Halloween. Yeah, this, I mean, literally depending on how much you fuss with this, you can probably make one of these in an hour, couple hours. So it is a fun little project for, you know, for all sorts of things. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I am going to be watching my daughter play volleyball tomorrow, and then on Sunday is my first class for the Happy Pants with Twins and Needles. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. And like I said, if I have time, I will get a Sunday embroidery video going. I may have to skip this week because I don't know if I'll have time. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you next week for another Fit Tip Tuesday and also a new project starting Friday during Fab Fit Friday. So thank you so much for watching and have a lovely weekend.